This is Emma. I first met Emma 4 years ago. What you see there running up her nose is a feeding tube. Now, like millions of kids worldwide, Emma was born prematurely. And in order to survive, she received a feeding tube. It's a completely standard medical procedure. And what isn't standard yet is that these children actually then become dependent on it. They never learn how to eat. And that's where NoTube comes in. NoTube is a social venture I co-founded that helps these children and their families to cut the cord, to learn how to eat normally. I'm proud to say that until today, we've helped over 700 families from all over the world learn how to eat and get rid of the feeding tube. We've also helped Emma. And during this whole period, I actually got so passionate about this cause that I at one point decided to feed myself through a feeding tube in order to really understand what these parents and their families go through. So this is me feeding myself through a feeding tube for an entire week, orally and drinking. And during this entire period, NoTube was an amazing vehicle, both professionally and personally. Professionally, our social business was growing and having an incredibly life-changing impact on these families. Personally, I was able to learn and develop, to learn all these kinds of things about the medical industry, about what these children are going through, and also to develop personally, travel, work from anywhere, and spend time with friends and family. But after about 5 years, I started feeling that something's just not right. It turned out that the right thing for the company, as it kept growing, was to be based in Austria, and for me to be leading it there. That didn't feel like the right thing for me, though. I'd by now spent almost a decade abroad, and the idea to return back to Austria, where I'm originally from, felt like a step backwards. And so suddenly, the line the company was on, that path, and my path were not aligned anymore. Now, realizing this was really painful. I'd built this amazing company, only to realize it wasn't amazing for me anymore. I had become NoTube. It had been my identity. And so I had to understand how I could get out of this. What was I going to do? I realized I have to create a more personal vision of myself, something that would last along the years and beyond individual jobs. So I started out by something that's very simple. I asked myself 3 questions that ended up having a very profound impact on me. Which place in the world brings out the best in me? What are the things I want to learn? And what do I want the relationships with my friends and family to look like? So, guys, I want you guys to take a moment and just think about them. How would you answer them? And so for me, I'm a little bit of an overachiever. I'm sure many of you can relate to that. So I came up with all these different answers, all these things I could be doing. So I had all these places, all these things I wanted to learn, and all these relationships I wanted to keep up with. Now, like any logically driven person, I realized that's not good. I can't be doing all of these things at the same time. So what I ended up doing was I started introducing rankings and structure to understand what it was that I really wanted to learn the most, where I really wanted to live the most, and what friendships and family relationships were most important to me. So I came up with this plan that I was actually quite happy with. And then one day, I talked to my dad, and I showed him my plan, and he just asked me the ultimate Jewish question. Why? Lama, for the Hebrew speakers in the crowd. And that just kind of got to me. It was hard. It was the idea of what was this purpose of this exercise? What was I trying to do with these 3 questions? Ultimately, the question was, I'd missed the most important part of the puzzle piece. I'd missed to add an ultimate goal. And it took me a while to get it, but I think ultimately I did. What I needed was a North Star, something to aspire to, an answer to why I was going to do all these things. And that was tough because on the one hand, it was my current self wanting to start working away And on the other hand was my future self, asking why. And so I just kind of boiled that down into something that was more easy for me to handle. And that meant asking myself, again, a simple question. How do I want my life to look like 10 years from today? So I wrote that down as well. And suddenly, it all became that much clearer. There was this working now, and this why. But through these answers, I really got an answer to which kind of short-term initiatives were most important to my long-term goals. 2 years in, I've walked the talk in many ways. I'm no longer CEO of NoTube. I broke up with my girlfriend, and I moved to Tel Aviv. And I've also failed in many, many ways. I haven't seen my family nearly enough over the last year, as much as I would like them to. My friendships are not as deep as I would want them to be. And my job is providing me the learning, but not the money that I would need. But that's the whole point. I realized that cutting the cord and rebuilding yourself is a constant challenge. There's always something changing or in need of change. But what helps me along the way are my 3 questions and my North Star. All I need to do is basically revisit my answers every now and then. So I invite you to get a notebook, ask yourself some questions, and find out what's your life's North Star. Thank you.